Welcome back to News Center. Now, Journey of Water campaign was launched last year, a national initiative for awareness raising on conservation of freshwater resources and with a focus on Kenya's critical yet neglected rivers. Now, this year, the Journey of Water campaign is scheduled for the second week of June. It will cast a spotlight on River Ewasonyiro North, which provides a good case for highlights, both highlighting water and climate risks, and a platform for a national call to action for strengthening water resources management and in particular catchment in Kenya. Now, during the 3-day campaign, participants will walk a distance of approximately 25 kilometers. And this is from the foot of Mount Kenya in Meru County through Laikipia and Isiolo counties to Archer's Post in Samburu. And that's the conversation we want to have right now. And joining me is Dr. William Ojwang, who is a freshwater lead from WWF Kenya, and engineer Stanley Kirimi, coordinator of Mount Kenya Ewaso Water Partnership. Thank you so much for making time, both of you.
Sure, thank you.
Right, let's just start off by talking about what does Journey of Water mean? Let's start with you, engineer Kirimi.
Yes, the Journey of Water is a highlight, and it comes at the right time when we've had very serious drought. We haven't seen this drought before, 40 years ago, and this has actually made people think and talk about it, but just like everything else, Kenyans forget very fast. Right. So this Journey of Water is an appropriate subject that we need to talk about, and it has been brought about by people who are concerned about water. Yeah. And one of these organizations is WWF. That is, they started it last year in Naivasha. This year, they have focused it on Ewasonyiro North, which is a great thing for me, and I'm very happy that they are supporting us to be able to highlight some of the things that are in Ewasonyiro. The drought really affected the whole of North Kenya, and it's actually mainly on the Ewasonyiro Basin. Right. So this comes at the right time when we should be able to talk about water, people using it upstream and the people using it downstream. Right. And we are looking at all aspects of the journey of water, from the source to how it is extracted, how it is got from by various people who are using it, the livelihoods of the people that support that River Ewasonyiro. We are talking over 4 million Kenya population, and we are talking of a diversity of from the highlands to the savannas, right, and to the dry area.
Yes, before we get into all those details, of course, now I just want to engage Dr. Ojwang from WWF. Tell us more about the Journey of Water.
Thank you. As already mentioned, the Journey of Water is a national campaign. And it's a national campaign aimed at creating awareness on the need to secure our water resources. Kenya will not be able to realize its vision 2030 if we don't take into consideration the need really to secure our key water source areas. Really, really important. Water is everything. Water is life. Right. Water is energy. Water is food. And the area where we are focusing, so we are turning the beam on those negative practices that are negatively impacting on water resources. So calling for collective action. Water is everybody's responsibility, beginning from yourself, right, from myself, from the communities, from the government agencies, from the private sector, academia, name it. If you don't pay attention to water, for sure, we are in big trouble. And that is, that's why we have this Journey of Water campaign, where it's about bending the beam, really focusing on those issues that we need to address. And these are issues that concern all of us.
Yes, you've talked about, of course, water is life, but what are these challenges that are there at this particular point?
So the challenges are quite diverse, all the way from the catchment, degradation, which are all human related. You know, activities, encroachment into key water source areas. For instance, people plowing the land all the way to the riparian land, climate change now is compounding all these concerns. You've seen what you just mentioned, drought. Now it's raining again, floods are a problem. And pollution. Many Kenyans, actually 15% of the 50 million or so Kenyans, still get water from the surface sources.
Right.
And therefore, ambient water quality becomes very, very important. But do people really care?
Right.
Today we're talking about building infrastructure. Great. But where are we going to get that water from? Are we looking at enhancing water production in this country? Are we looking at how we want to manage the catchments? So the concerns are huge. Inappropriate land use practices, unsustainable agriculture, for instance.
Right.
We're losing topsoil. If you look at our rivers today, Noor, they're brown or red in color. Why? We're losing all that soil into our rivers, not caring about the important people downstream, biodiversity downstream, including not even fisheries that so many people depend on. How do we reduce that?
How do we reduce that? Coming to you, Engineer Stanley, of course, from your experience and what you do, what has been the challenges you've seen firsthand?
The first challenge is a population growth within the Wasonyiro North. This was an area that was reserved for ranching and wildlife before. And we Kenyans, because of lack of land, we've gone around, bought the land, subdivided it. So the population growth is abnormal. It's very big. And we are changing the practices that was there before to cultivation. So the increase in population and the human activity has actually risen the problems in the Wasonyiro basin. Now, Wasonyiro means brown.
Right.
It has always been brown, but right now, as Dr. has said, it's actually worse. And we used to have trout. Today, there is no trout.
Right.
An indication that something has seriously gone wrong. The second point is we have not cared as Kenyan people about the catchment. We are out there, whether it's the government, individuals like myself, putting boreholes without really caring where does this water come from. And nobody is actually focusing in that because, one, we've got everything mixed up. The catchment areas that we are supposed to conserve, we have allowed the people within that area, for example, like Mount Kenya, we've allowed people to make Mount Kenya area a ranch. So there are so many animals, there are so many domestic animals, then that is compounded by our neighbors that come from very far, and they have always done that, and there's nothing wrong with that, but we need to have it regulated. So if you go to Mount Kenya today, in the moorland, where is the source of the water, it is as dry as Dodo in North Laikipia.
Right, Dr. Ojwang, I mean, this seems like it's human activities is what is actually enhancing this situation. What are you doing when it comes to the community? Are you talking to the people?
So, yes, it's good to create awareness so that people can take responsibility. So building governance at the lowest level, working with the Water Users Association, which is really, really important, and providing for them an opportunity to take action. Because you can create awareness, yes, people take responsibility, but there's also need for resources to enable communities to take action. And that is what WWF has been doing for quite a number of years in this country. But importantly, Noor, other than empowering communities, there's also need for coordination. The government agencies working harmoniously, whether it is National Environmental Management Authority or Kenya Water Resources Authority, they need to work harmoniously. Synergy is really, really important. Pooling resources to support catchment management, reduction of pollution and all that. The private sector, those are supplying water. They need to pay attention to the fact that, yes, you want to supply water, but where does that water come from? Enhancing production. It's really, really important today in Kenya, Noor, that there's need for very, very good working framework between the national government and the county government. Because the catchments that we are talking about are the counties.
Right.
The national government has a clear mandate. The counties also have a role to play. How do these people work together? How do these two-tier level of governance work together to ensure that we can improve on water resources management? There is already mooted a framework, intergovernmental framework. Where is it? Can it be enacted like yesterday so that we have harmonious management of water resources in this country? So it's not just about the communities, whom of course need empowerment, creating awareness, providing opportunities for them to take action, but then there's need for coordination. There's need for information sharing, for instance, because it's information that can enable us to have informed decisions. So the water sector, as we speak, is kind of having a silo approach. We need an integrated approach where we can reduce conflicts. The next problem we're going to have in this country, I don't want to say it's war.
Right.
The next problem we're going to have in this country is over water. Water use conflicts. People downstream, moving upstream, so that they can compare those who are living upstream. Many of them are obstructing. Why? For purposes of irrigation, particularly the smallholder farmers. Do they know that there are people downstream who actually require that water? This is very apparent in Ojwang and Eng. And those are the things that we want to amplify.
Right.
Can we have common intakes, for instance? Are people paying attention to the needs of those who are downstream? This is one river that is touching a sub area.
Right.
And these are all Kenyans. We don't have as much water, Noor, as we speak.
But then where is the disconnect? I mean, Engineer Stanley, if I was to ask you, where is the disconnect? Where is the lack of coordination in all this?
Now, we have very good framework where, for example, we have the grassroots organizations called the Water Resource Users Association. These are the managers at the ground level, but they are within the Water Act 2016, but they are never supported by the government, whether the national government or the county government. So it is the Wanjiko who supports that organization.
And why is there a lack of that support?
What the support they get is to do their management plans, and these take long. They gather dust because there is no implementation in it. There isn't enough money. So the problem is we are not putting enough resources to very important resource called water as a country, and this is also exaggerated or comes out very, very clearly because we are dealing with the politicians. The politicians look at these things. They are our leaders. They are the ones who share out the cakes. But a politician will always want to do something that can be seen by the eyes. Water conservation, you do something today, you see the effects of it after 10 or 15 years. So nobody wants to throw money there because it doesn't excite the politicians. They know. It's not a question of not knowing. They've been to school, they know. But the Mwananchi himself is demanding other things. And the things that the Mwananchi is demanding is what attracts the policy maker to put in finances in it. So we need actually to look at the whole water sector and look at the framework that is there, look at all those people, agencies that have been created, and look back and redesign, re-engineer, and say, does this work? For example, I'll give you an example with water resources and the Water Services Regulatory Board. These are two. One gives the services, the other one takes care of the resource. Now, there's a disconnect. One is out to give services, and the other one is taking care of the resources. Now, why can't we have one body with one person saying, yes, this is the amount of water that is there, this is how much you can be able to abstract, and that particular individual or organization should be responsible. So we need actually to look at the whole issue, the whole re-engineering on all these silos, so that we can be able to do it. The second one is everybody that takes water, or the majority of the people, about less than 40%, they get the water through the government, through the permits. Now, if you got water in 2015 or 1960,
right,
you are given that permit without, at the time, there weren't so many people. There weren't so many users of that resource. Today is 2023. Do you really say that permit is relevant? The answer is no. We require to do water demand management. We need to review some of those permits. We need also to curb. There's a lot of illegal obstruction. A lot of illegal obstruction, and we need to strengthen the WRIA, Water Resource Authority, so that they can be able to carry their mandate. We need to involve the county governments in all this, because they are on the ground. We need, the government has come out with a police unit, but in any shared resource, to me, it's a no-no.
Don't think it would work. Dr. Ojwang, do you agree with his approach?
Yes. One thing that I would want to, he alluded to that, but yes, there's been a bit of support. It's only that is inadequate. Of course, there's a bit of support from Water Resource Authority supporting RUAS, developing catchment management plan. That's okay. We've had some resources from Kenya Trust Fund. Lots of support to RUAS actually come from development partners like WBF, for instance. And of course, we're getting additional support from other development partners. In particular, I wish to mention the Dutch Embassy in Kenya, for instance, really paying attention to the need to strengthen the communities so that they can be able to participate, not just in water resources management, but in natural resources management. Remember, our Constitution 2010 acknowledges the need for participatory approach to natural resources management. So yes, there's a bit of support. It's inadequate. We need really to ensure that we pay attention to our water resources. Secondly, Nor, if you allow, yes, the need for enhanced compliance with regulations is really, really important. Sometimes lack of awareness. The water guidelines, they're there. But are people aware? Do we take time to explain to Kenyans that this is how we can come together to manage a resource that is so important to us? I think that is really, really important. Today, you look at, not many people apply for permit for surface water. They want to sink boreholes. And they're doing it all over the place.
Right.
That needs some kind of coordination. But do we even know how much water we have? Underground water sources? Probably not. We don't have good data that can enable us really to regulate the sinking of boreholes. Today, mostly the middle income Kenyans,
right,
whenever you're putting up a house, you have a wall around your home, and quickly having your own water, sinking a borehole. And tomorrow, your neighbor on the other side will decide not sinking a borehole, but this time around having a pit latrine.
Right.
And before you know it, you have no water, because the wells that are speaking, communicating. So what he's talking about is really, really important. But this is why we want to amplify some of this information, to amplify the need for us to pay attention to what is so important to us as a country.
Right.
So I for sure agree with most of what he's talking about. We need to put order in the water sector.
Right. Engineer Stanley, just coming to you now because time is up. Just briefly tell us about the campaign that's happening. The Journey of Water.
Yeah, the Journey of Water is a very good theme. We are trying to, first of all, create awareness with all the users of the water. That whether you come from upstream or downstream, there is somebody downstream of you who is using that water. And we are opening the eyes of the people. We are making that work so that people can see where the water comes from, how it is degraded, how the riparian is also degraded, and what they can be able to do. So it's actually an eye-opener for everybody, because everybody stays in their own cocoon, gets the water, but they don't have an overview, the holistic approach to see who else is using this water and are they getting this water. For example, I'll give you an example.
Quickly, because of time.
In Livalike, in Nanyuke, just about 500 meters, people are getting clean water. As it passes through the Like village slum, there is a lot of pollution with the changa waste, and the people downstream of the Like village, they cannot use that water. So we want to open up eyes to everybody to say that, this is a very important resource. You may not need it right now, but somebody downstream
might need it. Right, thank you so much. That is Engineer Stanley Kirimi. He is the Mount Kenya Ewaso Water Partnership, together with Dr. William Ojwang from WWF Kenya. Thank you so much for the conversation.
Thank you.
Right, that's a wrap for News Center. Thank you for watching. My name is Fatia Nuri, and Nayojiri is up next.